but kept watching our coverage, saw the direction of the storm, and he said, I looked out the window and there it was, the giant tornado that was ripping through the businesses nearby.
Boy, and think about the power to be able to not only knock down that building that just is in pieces now, the twisted metal, the cars that are overturned, that semi that was overturned, the power of the wind and the rain that was coming down all at the same time, making for very treacherous conditions there. We want to go back to WRAL's Grace Haba, who is on the ground there. Grace, at least the rain has stopped now, and you have some new information to share with us about what happened there in Rocky Mount.
Yeah, the rain having stopped is one silver lining, if any, we can take out of all of this destruction. And you all just mentioned the strength of this storm and just how strong these winds had to be to not only knock over an 18-wheeler, but really to level buildings. This is one that we just found. It's off Tiffany Boulevard, just past the intersection of Wesleyan, as we mentioned. It's completely leveled. You see cars there in the parking lot, too, tossed around as if they were just paper. Right next to where I'm standing, too, are pieces of brick just tossed around as though they're nothing. I mean, it's kind of heavy, I'm not going to lie, so I'm going to drop it back down. But all over this parking lot, tons of brick, glass everywhere. So you really need to watch your step, too, if you're out here, because you don't know what's underneath you. Some of the areas, too, are flooded. And if you look over to the right, now we're starting to get into a residential area. So there are homes that have definitely suffered some severe damage. And if we could come a little bit further, Jendaya, I don't know if you're going to be able to zoom in this far, but I just spotted it just down there past that yellow truck on the right-hand side. You're going to see what I was just talking about, that twisted metal wrapped around objects. We see that often in the aftermath of tornadoes, and that is exactly what I'm seeing here, wrapped around what looks like a tree that seems to be in front of an apartment building. We're going to try to make our way down there too as well, just to make sure that everybody is all right. But this is the extent of the damage that we're seeing in this area of Wesleyan and Tiffany. We told you that this was extensive, and we're finally starting to make our way around and see just how bad it is. The front of the shop here, all of the glass in it, completely knocked out. The cars that were parked in front of it, those are destroyed as well. The top of the cabs, the rear windshields, all of them are completely damaged. We see families around hugging each other, just looking around. I would assume that they were either in these buildings or perhaps even live nearby. So a lot of people really wondering, where do we go from here? Where do we start to repair? And right now, there's just going to have to be several days worth of cleanup here, weeks, months. It's going to take a while.
Have you spoken, when you speak to those people who are emotional in that area, coming down to see the damage, what kind of sense are you getting from them?
You mentioned that one eyewitness earlier, Caleb Braswell. He works for a towing company, and as you mentioned, he told me he looked outside, thought, okay, it's going to miss us, continued to watch our coverage, and then realized the sky got dark, and not only was it not going to miss him, it was coming straight at him. His business here, it's just on the other side of this building that we're next to. They really dodged this by a matter of yards. So very, very, very close to home for him, and unfortunately, so many other businesses, as you can see if you look all around us, not having that same good fortune today. Again, just a lot to clean up, and those people who were fortunate enough to not have this hit directly on them, very grateful at this moment, and a lot of people in the community coming out here asking, what can I do, how can I help? But again, emergency management crews, we continue to stress this. Those that are out here, they are all busy. They are all surveying this damage, helping those in need. Over here, I just saw this fire truck as well pull up as well just near this apartment complex. I believe that's our own Destiny Patterson as well, setting up down there, so she may have a closer look for you here in just a moment at that apartment complex. But clearly a lot of damage, a lot of emergency crews out here. So if you do not have to be out here, stay safe, stay at home. There are a ton of traffic hazards. All of this debris that is in the roadway are hazards that emergency management crews simply don't need you going out and hitting it and then having to divide crews even further out here, because this is an all hands on deck type of situation.
Grace, we want to play a little bit of that interview from that eyewitness that you did maybe about an hour ago, so let's listen.
The rain, it was torrential rain, lightning struck, it was like right beside the office when it struck. So I walked outside to make sure it didn't hit the building, and it looked like it was like a half mile, 3/4 mile wide. I just watched it, I mean, black, just straight down. Sounded like a group of like 10 trains, just huge. The wind, I mean, obviously was horrible. And I mean, I watched debris flying around, pieces of wood, siding, everything just flying up in the air. It was wild.
Boy, the noise is something that we haven't talked about yet. I mean, not only the heavy rains and the winds, obviously, but then the noise of that tornado coming through.
There's nothing, it's a frightening sound that I have heard before, and I know what he was listening to, and that is nothing you ever want to hear. We have seen, again, weather that has been so impactful from the mountains all the way here to the Triangle. King Street in Boone looked like a rushing river earlier.
That was unbelievable.
Just terrible. And we've heard now of a potential landslide that causing issues on the interstate. Brian Schrader is joining us now. Brian, you know, App State had a football game that was canceled this weekend. It was the parents' weekend. So many families here have students who are going to school there. We have people that we know who are